Jordy, what's up, man?
What's up, fellas? Good morning. How are we?
Doing good. Ready to get these matchups rocking and rolling. Got a couple appetizers tonight. Oregon State taking on Washington in what should be a pretty decent matchup there. Duke and Boston College in the Let's See Who's Smarter Bowl. But Jordy, let's talk about LSU at Alabama this weekend. Obviously, it's a huge matchup. I went through and yesterday listed 3 things that I think LSU has to do to be able to have a chance to win this game. And I'm with Cone. I think Bama has to help them out a little bit when you look at the depth of personnel and the way these rosters are put together in year one under Brian Kelly. What is one thing, or maybe the main thing you're looking at, Jordy, tomorrow from an LSU perspective to be able to give them a chance to win the game?
I think they got to tackle. I think that tackle has to be a top priority for LSU defensively. When you think about Gibbs and you think about Bryce Young, Young's going to be the X factor in this game, obviously, when it comes down to Alabama on offense. His ability to run the ball, I think, is something that is very undervalued, very underrated. And the talk all week, or at least during the bye week down here in Baton Rouge, is how does LSU get B.J. Ojulari and Harold Perkins on the field at the same time in their base defense? And it seems like they've got it figured out after Brian Kelly met with the media a couple of times this week. And I think, Perkins' responsibility, or at least one of his top priorities come tomorrow, is going to be him and Bryce Young. And when he gets out of the pocket, he tries to make a move and tries to make plays with his feet. I think Harold Perkins will be responsible for getting him down to the ground, and tackling is going to be very important by, just one-on-one. You got to win those one-on-one battles and get the guys to the ground.
Without a doubt. And LSU's put out so many great defensive players. We know how athletic LSU is on a year-in, year-out basis. It's a feeder to the NFL, just like basically the whole SEC, but LSU's a little bit different. Is Harold Perkins the next great one?
He is. He's got a lot of Devin White in him. If you've seen his high school highlight film, Jake, he did everything, right? He was running back. They throw it to him. They put him at quarterback. He played safety, linebacker. He returned kicks, punts. He'd kick off sometimes. He made the popcorn. He did everything. And Devin White was very similar to that, but they had to find a primary position for him when he got to Baton Rouge for him to really grow and develop. And I think they're still going through that process with Perkins. His body is still developing, but his athleticism is off the charts. He is different. When you go out to LSU's practice field early on, when he got here during the fall, you could see it. It popped early. He just was a little bit quicker. He had that quick burst. And now you can see it playing out on an SEC field. When he goes in on some blitzes, and they've put him on some spy assignments over the last couple of weeks, he gets up into the wash, and rarely does he even get touched. I have not seen that with an athlete on an SEC field where, you can go untouched in the middle of the field, in the middle of the wash, and still make the play. And he has proved to do that time and time again. He seems like, yes, he is tabbed as the next great one down here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, when he comes downhill, it turns into a luge contest, man. He's instinctually, he's a freshman out there doing these things, and is athletic enough to run guys down, and he's unbelievably physical at the point of attack, whether it's taking on blocks, and he tackles guys with his eyes. That's what you want to see. You want to see what you hit.
Yeah. Hey, Jordy, Brian Kelly wasn't shy when he took the job down there that a goal of his is to beat Nick Saban. This will be the first opportunity. Now, I was surprised the way LSU lost to Tennessee at home, but the way they've responded these last 2 weeks has been phenomenal to watch. And they're one of a handful of teams around the country right now I think has gotten better throughout the season. When you look at the team chemistry and the way guys are performing, it's very impressive. I don't think Alabama's going to help the Tigers out this weekend. I don't think that they're going to commit the type of penalties we've seen throughout the season, and I don't think that Bryce Young is going to turn the football over, which means LSU has to go out and beat them. So can Jaden Daniels continue to push the football down the field the way he has these past 2 weeks and the way he's going to need to against Alabama without turning the football over?
He's going to have to, and I'm anxious to see what Pete Golding and Nick Saban have cooked up for Daniels, because over the last couple of games, he's really been able to find a balanced way to attack the game. Early on, he was running way too much. He was opening himself up to way too many hits, and they weren't involving the playmakers in the offensive game plan. Over the last 2 games against Florida and Ole Miss, they have done that, and you can see Daniel's confidence just really bursting all over, whether it's running, throwing the ball, controlling the offense. His decision-making has been the biggest improvement, in my opinion, over the last couple of weeks. He's trusting what he's seeing. I think it took him time to realize that there's defensive ends out there that are 6'4", 270 pounds and can run 4.4. I think the first time he saw that, Mississippi State, then again against Auburn, then against Florida. I mean, there was a little bit of adjusting going on where he wasn't really trusting what he was seeing because of how fast it was coming at him and how fast it was moving in front of him. Now that he's kind of settled in, you can see his game has become a lot more comfortable over the last 2 games. He's trusting what he's seeing. He's letting go of the ball. If he doesn't like what he sees on that first read, he's being able to progress through the next 2 reads. And if it's still not there, what has been the biggest development in this offense and why is it succeeding in the last 2 games compared to the start of the season is because of the check down. The check down has been huge because it has taken a lot of emphasis off of his run, right? I mean, he could not get to run quick enough for his skill set. And now what the defense have to pay attention to the back out of the backfield in the flat, the tight end playing underneath, to things that he can where he can get through a couple of progressions. If it's not there, he either has a run pass option, which really makes him dangerous, on the 3rd or 4th read of what he's trying to break down. So I'm anxious to see what Golding and Saban have cooked up for him, because it seems like he's playing with a lot of confidence going into tomorrow.
Yeah. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady had a long career by hitting that check down and letting running backs run, I think a lot of us were surprised by Kayshon Boutte's lack of production early in the season. And now all of a sudden, he was on the back of a milk carton for a while, and now he's producing at a high level. He seems bought in. You usually don't see that, Jordy. You usually see it the other way around. Guys get bought into the team early, and when there's some adversity, they quit. I mean, this has to speak to Brian Kelly's leadership, right?
I agree. I think this is a great testimony for Brian Kelly, one that he can sell not only to the current team right now, but to future teams that come through here. There was a lot of speculation in the offseason whether Kayshon was going to transfer or not. When those transfer rumors popped up, it looked like he was even going to Alabama. I mean, there were times where people were really freaking out on what Kayshon, how he was going to fit in, where he was going to play, what was going to happen between him and Brian Kelly. And look, there were some points of tension throughout the early parts of this relationship. I mean, even Kelly's first press conference, when he was asked about Kayshon, his immediate answer was, I hadn't seen him. I don't know what he looks like. I hadn't had a chance to talk to him. And we're really calling his superstar out in the public. That can go one of 2 ways, right? And, it looks like it has worked out for Brian Kelly, because Kayshon has really embraced the leadership role on this team. And even though he's not been used the way that people expected him to be used here during his junior season, you can see him starting to catch his feet underneath him and getting momentum into making plays over the last couple of weeks. He's really been involved. He's really been engaged. And the thing that's been most impressive about Kayshon, if you watch the film, fellas, is he's blocking at a very high level. I mean, he is really engaged into the team and embracing all aspects of being a leader, being a playmaker, and waiting on his opportunity. I think tomorrow night kind of smells like Kayshon lurking around and maybe has a big night. Him and Eli Ricks have been going up against each other on the practice field for a long time, and they'll match up under the lights tomorrow night. And I think that's something that Kayshon's really looking forward to.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, Jordy, I love seeing that Alvin Kamara painting behind you. I really needed him to kind of replicate what he did last week in the 40-point.
We don't need that at all.
Against David Cohen would be nice. But hey, through the first 8 games this year, if you had to put a coaching grade on Brian Kelly's first year at LSU this season so far, what would your grade be?
Oh, it would be a B+ right now. I think it's very solid. I think the thing that LSU fans were looking for, what they were hoping for in year one, is that you could see signs of improvement. You could see signs of development. I don't know if anybody was putting a win-loss record on what success was going to look like in year one. You just wanted to see, momentum going in the right direction. And, beyond that, that's happening. You can see that with Jaden Daniels. You can see that with Harold Perkins. You can see that with the two true freshman tackles that are on the offensive line. I mean, there are areas that you can look at and you can see, but really it's the feeling around the program. Fellas, I mean, you go into press conferences, you talk to people around the program. I mean, the attention to detail is back. And for the first time in this matchup, Alabama, LSU in the last 15 years since Saban's been walking the sidelines in Tuscaloosa. LSU really feels like they're on at least an even playing field with the coaching. I mean, it's been such a huge advantage every year, Alabama versus Les Miles and Ed Ogeron, that it finally feels that LSU's going into a game with, not a roster that they have, been the strongest over the last 15 years, but a coach that without a doubt will have them best prepared to take on this game.
Mm-hmm. Talent's hard to beat. Organized talent's almost impossible to beat.
Yep.
I think that's what you're seeing from LSU. All right, Blaine, do we have a quick one from the Booster Club?
Yeah, let's go to M. Hutton. He wants to know if LSU wins this game, does it leapfrog LSU back to elite status?
I think that they're still flirting with that to be consistent. I think this would be a long way, but I still think that there is time needed for Brian Kelly to be a consistent winner and be an elite program in college football year in, year out. He's still got to get some things right on the roster. He made a comment about it last week during the bye, fellas, that he's still going to have to dip into the transfer portal as much as this program is going to be built on freshmen and recruiting classes, and a lot like what we've seen, with Harold Perkins and Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Mason Taylor and guys like that. But you'll still have to go get the Joe Fuchs and the Greg Brooks and some of these transfers that have come in and made instant impacts because the roster's not quite there every year to be a consistent player in college football. But he's getting close because he's recruiting at a very high level. He got another 4-star offensive lineman yesterday that everybody wanted. So he's doing it the right way. It's just Saturday's win would propel them and get them there quicker because that sideline is going to be dripping with 4- and 5-star talent of recruits that they want to show this environment off to.
Yeah, I mean, LSU wins this game, that Baton Rouge may burn down. Like, you think that the summer riots were something? This will make the summer riots look like a baby shower. But Jordy, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. Great stuff at the Jordy Culotta Show. I know you got to run. Let's do this again sometime soon.
Looking forward to it, fellas. Keep up the great work. Thank y'all.
Definitely, you too. Jordy Culotta, good friend of the show, does a great job covering LSU, the Saints down there. They have a really good time, very cool vibe, atmosphere.
Hey, if you like that content, go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. If you didn't like that content, why don't you just go ahead and subscribe anyway? Thank you.